WHIZ-TV Zanesville.
We know you had a choice. Thanks for watching Fox 5 Zanesville.
Good afternoon. Here are some of the stories we're working on for the evening news at 5:30. Local services commemorate the national observance of Martin Luther King Day. We'll also have details on a service planned tonight at Ohio University Zanesville featuring a poet and philosopher active in the civil rights movement. And the blind are now able to use computers with a new invention. Details on these stories and more, plus sports and weather, tonight at 5:30 on the WHIZ Evening Reports.
And now, WHIZ-TV reports the latest news and information from around our area, the complete weather outlook for southeastern Ohio, and an up-to-the-minute sports picture for this region and the world. WHIZ-TV is your information leader.
Good evening. It was day 2 of President Bush's Spirit of America whistle-stop train tour today. The President and Mrs. Bush spent the day visiting cities across the state of Michigan. The Bushes attended church this morning in Livonia, then headed on to their next stop in Wixom. From the train platform, Bush told the crowd that Bill Clinton's proposed tax programs are a serious threat to America.
Now, WHIZ-TV reports the latest news and information from this region, the weather forecast for this vicinity, and the complete sports picture for this area and the world. When southeastern Ohio needs to know, WHIZ-TV is there.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Topping our news tonight, Muskingum County.
This WHIZ-TV news update brought to you by Zanesville Fabricators, the Counterfeiters.
Coming up in WHIZ Weekend Report at 11, the START 2 peace treaty has been signed. Find out what happens next in the U.S. and Russia. Plus, meet a couple who went from doing business out of their home to doing business in Japan. And find out what the 10 biggest Hollywood flops were in 1992. Weather and sports next. Mark will have the unseasonably warm weather forecast. And in sports, he'll have a complete wrap-up of all the day's action. All that and more coming up at 11.
Now, WHIZ-TV reports the latest news and information from this region, the weather forecast for this vicinity, and the complete sports picture for this area and the world. When southeastern Ohio needs to know, WHIZ-TV is there.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Mutual Federal Savings Bank. Expect a difference in banking service.
Police say a firebombing suspect was trying to create an atmosphere of fear in New York subways. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. They say Edward Leary's goal was to get money to stop the attacks. The unemployed computer technician was critically injured Thursday when a homemade firebomb went off on a stopped subway train.
Tonight in the news, the Zanes Trace commemoration kicks off tomorrow, and the downtown is buzzing with activity and preparation. We'll take you there. We'll also tell you about another tax abatement awarded to an area business. Now here's what you can expect on NBC Nightly News.
Join us as we get more details on the tragic deer hunting accident that occurred this weekend. So tune in to Jennifer Roos and George Hyotis tonight at 6. Now here's what's ahead on the NBC Nightly News. Coming up on the 6 o'clock news, the state-graded area schools, and we'll tell you how their report cards look, and we'll also tell you about plans to observe Martin Luther King Day. Now here's what's ahead on NBC Nightly News. Coming up tonight at 6, the national championship game between Ohio State and Miami is hours away. We'll see how area bars and restaurants get ready for the big game, and we'll also check in with area residents as they get ready to play the $15 million lottery. Now here's what's up on NBC Nightly News.
Good morning. This is Sunrise in southeastern Ohio. Your closer to home coverage starts now.
Hello and good morning. It's Wednesday, August 15, 2007. I'm Nicole Nadal.
And I'm Cassie Hopis.
Well, Cassie, looking good weather-wise out there. Can't, beat it. And now we're going to say good morning to our friend and yours, Brian Wagner, who's hanging out the 161st Annual Blue Ribbon Muskingum County Fair. This fair report is brought to you by Carl Rittberger Meats and Kroger of Zanesville.
Well, ladies, another nice day out here at the Muskingum County Fairgrounds. Good morning to you. I certainly hope that you're having a great morning today. Beautiful skies starting to shape up. The fairgrounds starting to come alive. As a matter of fact, some folks out on the track working their horses this morning. The crews are tidying up from overnight last night, and the fairgrounds getting ready for another day, the fourth day of the Muskingum County Blue Ribbon Fair. We're hoping to catch
WHIZ News at 6. Your closer to home coverage starts now. This portion of the news is sponsored by Cedar Hill Care Center, part of Zandex Healthcare.
A federal grand jury indicts a former local police officer accused of conspiring to rob a drug dealer of 2 pounds of cocaine and sell it for profit. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Former ZPD officer Sean Beck also was charged Thursday with...
This is WHIZ News at 11. Your closer to home coverage starts now. This portion of the news is brought to you by Century National Bank. Local banking, local decisions. Just around the corner at Century National Bank.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm George Hyotis.
And I'm Jackie Sprague.
It is election night 2007, and we have all the winners and losers of the Muskingum County Senior Center.
This is WHIZ News at 11. Your closer to home coverage starts now. This portion of the news is brought to you by Century National Bank. Loan after loan, families trust Century National Bank.
The owner of the Buckeye Lake business was indicted on drug charges by a federal grand jury in Columbus. Good evening and thank you for joining us. And for Jackie Sprague, I'm Elizabeth Shore. 42-year-old Joseph Morisco of Pataskala and Robert Plessner of Grove City are both accused of conspiring to...
Some voters in Coshocton and Licking counties will head to the polls today to cast their vote in a special election. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump rallies in the battleground state of Ohio. And an Ohio man accused of plotting to kill U.S. officials and employees changes his plea in court.
Good morning. This is Sunrise in southeastern Ohio. Your closer to home coverage starts now.
Hello, good morning. It's Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016. I'm Nicole Hannes.
I'm Phil Sakel.
And thanks for joining us for Sunrise this morning. Weather out there going to be plenty warm in the day ahead.
Plenty warm indeed. We did officially hit 90 once again yesterday, and we're looking at temps well into the 60s. Even
WHIZ Weekend News. Your closer to home coverage starts now.
For years, people have reported seeing ghosts or hearing strange voices at the Twin City Opera House in McConnellsville. Good evening and thank you for joining us this Sunday night.
WHIZ News Forum for U.S. Congress, Ohio District 12, presented by Williamson Insurance. Tonight, WHIZ's own George Hyotis will ask questions of both candidates, Danny O'Connor and Troy Balderson. We join George Hyotis now live from the WHIZ-TV studios.
Good evening. I am George Hyotis of the WHIZ Media Group, and this is the 12th Congressional District News Forum. Tonight, our guests are Democrat Danny O'Connor, who is currently the Franklin County Recorder, and Republican Troy Balderson, who in August won a special election for the unexpired 12th District Congressional term of Pat Tiberi, who retired for another job.
This is WHIZ News at 11. Your closer to home coverage starts now.
Brought to you by Century National Bank, at your service to help you find the loan that's right for you.
Good evening and thanks. A dangerous situation is playing out in Muskingum County tonight. Sheriff Matt Lutz says earlier this afternoon, some deadly animals were purposely let out of their secured fences and are now roaming free.
Hello and good morning. It's Monday, March 23rd, 2020. I'm Nicole Hannes. We'll have those stories and more coming up. But first, let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Phil Sakel and a check of our forecast. Phil? Hello and good morning. It's Thursday, May 20th, 2021. I'm Nicole Hannes. Meteorologist Gunnar Consul will have your forecast in just a moment. But first, today's headlines. 5 individuals facing charges in connection to 3 overdose deaths go before a judge to face their charges. All pled not guilty.
Thanks, Gunnar, and that's all for us for today. Tune in to Live at Noon for more news and weather updates. Have a great day. Coming up, the Muskingum County Sheriff's Office responds to a barricade situation. Many traveling home from Thanksgiving are met with flight delays. And today, hunters of all ages will take to the woods for the first day of deer gun season. Good morning. It's Monday, November 28th, 2022. I'm Nicole Hannes, and thanks for joining us this morning. We're seeing a cool start to our day. Forecaster Alexa Minton has the latest.
This WHIZ-TV news update is brought to you by Kokonas Furniture and Mattress First, locally owned and community connected for over 90 years.
Hello and good morning. It's 7:26. I'm Nicole Hannes, and here's today's top stories. The Muskingum County Sheriff's Office dealt with a barricade situation on Cooper Mill Road on Sunday. It took place around 2 p.m. when a report came in about a house fire.
Local law enforcement dealt with a barricade situation Sunday on Cooper Mill Road. Plus, it's the start of the deer gun hunting season across Ohio. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. More on those stories coming up. But first, here's meteorologist Sloan Haynes with a check of the forecast.
This portion of the news brought to you by the Community Bank. Living local makes our community stronger. The Community Bank.
Thank you for joining us. A second Zanesville man pleaded guilty in common police court today to charges related to a mass overdose earlier this year.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Park National Bank. Century National Bank has taken on our family name. All together now, we serve more.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for WHIZ News at 11. I'm Nicolette Pizzuto. The Muskingum County Joint Unified Command Center is reporting today that 2 more county residents have died from COVID-19.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Park National Bank. Park National Bank, where you mean more.
Evening, and thank you for tuning in to WHIZ News at 11. I'm Cassidy Wilson. The holiday season has officially begun with Black Friday shoppers out and about today. And while online shopping has become a preferred method for many, there was still plenty headed out at Colony Square Mall.
This portion of WHIZ News is brought to you by the Community Bank. Living local makes our community stronger. The Community Bank.
Meteorologist Rich Wardzik here with your forecast first. Let's go into the evening. Another quiet and not a bad evening for this time of the year. Can't complain. Temperatures starting in the 40s here through early evening. Will settle into the 30s late. And we're going to talk about a warm-up plus our next shop for rain. WHIZ News is next.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. A Zanesville woman will spend 10 to 13 years in prison for aggravated vehicular homicide.
You're watching WHIZ News for Zanesville, New Lexington, and all of Southeast Ohio.
Talking about a nice warm-up and also our next shop for rain. We'll be back with that in a few minutes. Right now, the news on Fox 5 starts now.
thank you for tuning into WHIZ News on Fox 5 at 10. I'm Cassidy Wilson. A Zanesville woman will spend 10 to 13 years in prison for aggravated vehicular homicide. The Muskingum County Prosecutor's Office announced today that Paris Dickinson also pleaded guilty to failure to stop after an accident and misdemeanor count of OVI in the death of 30-year-old Alex King. Coming up next on WHIZ News on Fox 5 at 10, the library has more than just books to check out. More on that after this quick break.
You're watching WHIZ News on Fox 5 for Zanesville, New Lexington, and all of Southeast Ohio.
Stereo WHIZ-TV, Zanesville.